Look at this marble bust of the ancient philosopher Plato. For him, and for centuries of thinkers after him, the definition of art came down to a single word: mimesis, pure imitation. This portrait of the Mona Lisa represents the height of that philosophy in practice. During the Renaissance, Leon Battista Alberti formalized this idea by declaring that a perfect painting should act as a physical window. You look at the canvas and see the world exactly as it is. Under this framework, an artist's genius was measured by their mechanical capability. Their job was to flawlessly replicate the geometry of light, shadow, and proportion found in nature. As long as art was defined as imitation, human artists functioned as organic recording devices, capturing reality one agonizing brushstroke at a time. Then, in the 1830s, a revolutionary new piece of technology finally arrived that could capture that physical reality instantly. Photography introduced the concept of optical truth. It captured physical realities moving too fast for human processing, revealing a world that exists beyond our biological vision. This is Eadweard Muybridge. His famous motion studies of running horses proved that a machine's eye could see truths that the artist's eye had missed for thousands of years. This ignited a paragone, a fierce contest between different forms of art. But painters quickly realized they were fighting a losing battle. They could never beat the camera at capturing physical reality. If a machine is the ultimate imitation engine, then Plato's ancient definition of art was dead. Painters were left staring at their canvases, facing a vacuum of purpose. To survive the camera, artists executed a strategic pivot. While the machine owned the external physical world, painters would stake their claim on the internal psychological world. Early modernists intentionally broke the established rules of visual accuracy. They distorted perspective and color to prioritize a personal, subjective truth over a strict photographic record. Look at this portrait by Henri Matisse. Critics at the time mocked his work, completely missing the point. Those unnatural greenish skin tones show Matisse rejecting visual reality to paint his subject's inner character. Here is Pablo Picasso sitting before one of his chaotic canvases. He pushed this retreat further, abandoning realistic portraiture to map out the psychological and evolutionary layers of the human mind. The distortions in these paintings were not a lack of technical skill. They were a deliberate choice to document the mind instead of the physical world. The wide-eyed stare in this portrait of Salvador Dalí represents the threshold of this internal retreat. Movements like abstraction and surrealism began severing recognizable ties with the waking world, descending into the pure subconscious. In this photo, Jackson Pollock squats over a canvas on the floor. He was practicing automatism, a method of bypassing conscious thought to let raw emotion spill directly onto the canvas. The physical paint and the aggressive action of applying it became the subject of the work, rather than a tool representing reality. By mutating into a raw expression of human consciousness, art successfully survived the technological crisis. It was doing something a machine could never replicate. But this survival created a new dilemma. If art no longer has to look like reality and can look like absolutely anything, how do we know what art actually is? We must look at the boundary between two concepts: epistemology, how we recognize something, and ontology, what it means to be something. When mass-produced items enter galleries, their fundamental nature, their ontology, is the only metric left. Look at this stack of Brillo and Mott's boxes. This is the moment the visual boundary between art and reality collapsed. Andy Warhol created an artwork that is visually indistinguishable from a supermarket carton. If a museum masterpiece and a piece of grocery store packaging look visually identical, the defining characteristic of art can no longer be a physical visual property. This portrait shows Andy Warhol, the artist whose pop art boxes forced the philosopher Arthur C. Danto to a final conclusion. Danto realized that art's defining feature is now an entirely invisible property. He called this property embodied meaning. For an object to be art, it must be about something, and that specific meaning must be locked within its physical vessel. This demands a shift in how we interact with art. We have to stop looking at a canvas and asking, what is this a picture of? And start asking, what is the meaning embodied here? the camera severed art's obligation to the physical world. Removing the burden of the mirror transformed the